Good morning, everybody. This is Crystal with the 9 o'clock Meltdown podcast for differential here. And over speakerphone, I have the oh so wonderful, talented, and beautiful Mary Bue. Hello.
Hello, happy to be here.
Excellent, excellent. And now, Mary, you are a staple in the music community up here, down in Minneapolis, where you are currently living, and honestly, kind of across the nation. I meet a lot of people that say they've met you, that they know your music, and you've been at it for quite a while, actually.
Yes. Oh, you're so sweet to say all that. Yeah, I put out my first album in 2000, so this is the 20th anniversary.
Yes, yes. And now, Mary, just to give people a little bit of background, we met at the Amazing Grace Cafe. You were running sound there, and I also believe you were music director as well.
Yes.
And I think if I remember correctly, I just randomly approached you and said, "Can you teach me how to do sound?" And you were just so open and welcoming, and I've learned a lot from you. You're an amazing teacher, but you also work with a lot of amazing people. I was reading on your website, Alan Sparhawk from Low has given you a great review on your new album that's coming out in August.
Yes.
You've worked with Eric Swanson, who owns a recording studio here in town. Actually, you've worked with him off and on for many years.
Yes.
And then the people that you've worked with, I mean, it just kind of goes from there. You've done national tours. Am I missing anything?
Well, a lot can happen in 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my. Yeah, I guess some of the highlights were I've been awarded a few artist residencies. So in artist residencies, you get to live somewhere for a period of time and just devote yourself to making your art. So I've been lucky to have three of those.
Wow.
And yeah, one was in New Mexico, in Taos, New Mexico, and then the other two were in Florida. Yeah, those were major highlights. But yeah, I've worked with incredible people. I just feel like it's such an interesting path, and meeting the people I get to meet is like such a perk of the job, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Let's jump into your artist residencies for people who don't quite know what they are. Like you said, you're kind of given this opportunity to just work on your art and live somewhere new. How do you go about doing that? I mean, do you have to submit an application? Or are you kind of handpicked from people that open up their homes? Or how does that actually work?
Ooh, I wish. I mean, maybe some are like that. They're all across the world.
Okay.
And you can Google artist residencies or artists in residence. They usually have pretty strict application procedures. It's I would even call it a grant application.
Mm-hmm.
You submit your proposal and your artist biography or resume, and then like work samples. Sometimes you have to submit letters of recommendation. A pretty intensive application process depending on the program.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I've met artists from all over the world at these things. So you're usually in a place for 1 month or 3 months, and the ones I did were 1 month and 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
And there were like 8 to 10 other artists. And so you become like this little micro artist community. And that's amazing too. And I'm still in touch with quite a few of the artists that I met.
Excellent, excellent. So now, when you go into these kind of artist communes, if I can call it that, what do you really focus on? I mean, is it more collaborative work? Is it just really focusing in on your work and your art?
Yes, mostly just, again, depends on the program, but it's really for the artist to focus on their work uninterrupted from their daily life. And sometimes there will be, like, you have to present something to the group or to the board of directors. But the ones that I did were the one in Florida, we had to do a performance, but the one in New Mexico was just, like, no performing, just give yourself time to rest and, like, rejuvenate and fill the well with whatever you need to. You never know what sort of collaboration could happen with the people that you meet, the other artists. The ones at my programs were different mediums.
Oh.
So photographers, writers, art painters, yeah, filmmakers. So,
Really
yeah,
interesting.
so cool.
Interesting. Very cool. Now, usually when you think of like an artist residency or even art in a manner, you know, you automatically think of painting or musicians, but really art is this gigantic, vast community of people that's basically
Yes.
creating something. I mean, filmmakers all the way to, you know, the screenplay writer and things like that. That's very cool that they've opened it up to a lot of different mediums.
Yes, yes, there are so many writing specific residencies for any writers out there. When you're, I think there are probably less for like painters and musicians because you have to have like space that allows for you to be loud or have like a big studio that you can get messy. So, but like if they're for writers, it's like you just need a room, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Give me a notebook, or if you're really old school, give me a typewriter.
Exactly. Awesome.
Excellent, Mary. Let's jump into your new album now. Your new album drops in August, which is about a month away. I am really excited about it. You did this with the aid of Kickstarter again, which we'll get
Yep.
into in a little bit. I guess what prompted this album release? Was it just time for another musical endeavor?
Oh, that is such a deep question, surprisingly. So, I put out my last EP. It was a 4-song EP in 2017, and you know, it was time. I actually wasn't planning on putting something out so soon, but I acquired a manager when I moved to Minneapolis. I played a show with Tina Shaleski. She was doing these from Tina and the B-Sides. She's such a badass. So she was doing these like monthly residencies at the Ice House.
Okay.
And I met her manager, and we hit it off. And he invited me to work with him. And he wanted, even though I had like 7 albums already, he like wanted something new and fresh to like promote. And also he curated the band, which was a little conflicting because I already sort of had a band explosion when I left Duluth.
Oh.
Like I had like this crazy dramatic band explosion, and then formed a new band with friends. But then my manager wanted to pair me with like studio musicians and like super. I mean, Steve Price is he introduced me to his friend Steve Price, who's a producer. He plays in the suburbs, and he's been on a major record label with this band Rex Daisy from the 90s. And so Steve is like, he used to teach at IPR recording. He's like kind of a hot shot. And then Mike, my manager, like curated the band. So I had a brand new band to work with, and we crafted these songs so differently. I brought the demos, and then they were just like fleshed out with this new group, with the mastermind of Steve and our percussionist Richard Medic and Jeremy Ilvesacker. And Jeremy was like integral. Well, Jeremy and Richard both, and Steve played bass, but they just like had so much to bring and so many ideas, and it was just like such a magical. Like we actually recorded this whole thing in 3 or 4 months, maybe even less. So it's been done for like a year and a half.
Okay.
So I was gonna put it out in May. I was gonna put it out even before that, but I actually broke up with the manager. We just, you know, we got along, but it just wasn't exactly the right fit. And he's still like, I mean, he's an awesome guy, but it just wasn't the right fit. And so I decided to go independent, and then COVID-19, my friend. So the album release was pushed back again. I'm releasing it before like an actual Minneapolis release party.
Okay.
But I am having a release party in Duluth at Sacred Heart the day after. So it releases August 21st, and then Sacred Heart serendipitously invited me to do a live stream on August 22nd.
Oh, perfect. Perfect.
I know.
Yeah.
And we might be able to have a very small live audience, but they're going to check with the board because, as we know, it's kind of a shit show as far as COVID.
Yeah. Face masks or face shields for everybody.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Mary, let's now two questions pop up. One is Kickstarter is absolutely amazing, and you've done amazing work with Kickstarter. I remember that you released was it Apples in the Ocean through
Yep. Apple in the
Kickstarter?
ocean. Yep.
Through Kickstarter, and then you've just kind of continued this great phenomenon on Kickstarter. That's awesome. How do you pick what platform you're going to go with? I mean, there's so many out there now. There's Kickstarter, there's GoFundMe, there's Patreon, which Amanda Palmer has toted about back and forth. I mean, how do you pick which one you're going to use?
Well, I started Kickstarter, so that was 2012 when I did that one, and I've just stayed with Kickstarter because once you've done it, then when you do it again, those people that previously backed you get notified, so that's already a cool thing. And like the motivation of like having to reach your goal, I mean, it is extremely motivating to like, if you do not reach the goal, then you get zero money.
Right.
Which totally sucks. But the other platforms are friendlier in that if you don't reach the goal, you still get the money, which is awesome. So GoFundMe and Indiegogo. I don't know, is that still around? Anyway, so I've just stuck with Kickstarter because it's I find it really user friendly and like it's just a really crisp, clean platform. Very easy to set up. Yeah. Especially if you've done it a few times. So this was, oh my God. I actually did 2 Kickstarters for this album. This album cost $20,000.
Ooh. Now, is that cost in the fact that, I mean, you had a manager at the time, you had these studio musicians, things like that? I mean, is that kind of where the cost went to?
Yep. Producing, paying the musicians well. I had quite a crew of musicians. I had a trumpet player on a few songs and a string section, and my friend came and did harmonies, and I used 2 different studios, 2 different engineers, and then that includes the cost of printing vinyl and CDs and a publicist. Like, this is like a low budget compared to, I mean, some albums. Like when I was recording at one studio, there was all this technical difficulty, and I'm like, hey, we're just trying to make a Grammy winning record here. and one of the guys was like, well, you're gonna need $100,000 and a pound of cocaine. And I was like, okay, I guess we're not gonna win a Grammy, but so yeah, this, I mean, a lot of the major record label albums are at least $100,000 to make. So, a fraction of that, but I feel so proud of the quality. And yeah, so Kickstarter really helps make that happen. I mean, that's like, depending on the house you're buying, that's like a freaking down payment, or like a new car, or a couple new cars, used cars. So it's really like not cheap if you want. I hope to recoup, but Kickstarter is a way that we can do these lofty projects and people pre-order, and then it's like, okay, you're not broke ass. But I do have a Patreon, actually.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yep. And that's a really cool platform. I'm really rambling here, but
you're fine.
Patreon is Patreon is like a subscription model where you can either, and you've heard Amanda Palmer, her amazing book, read about this and talk about this. I'm a patron of hers too, for $1 a month or whatever. Right. Yeah, you can choose like your level of like $1 a month, $3, $5, $10 a month, which is like a freaking cup of coffee for $5 a month or whatever. And then you get all these incentives and exclusive content, and like I'm releasing all my recorded yoga videos to people on mine. So there are like 20 yoga videos on there. There's everyone will get downloads. Everyone gets singles. They get to hear like when see the video before it comes out. Like it's just kind of like a old school sort of fan club thing.
Okay.
But but it's like you choose, you set the level, what you can afford. You can change that at any time. You can quit at any time. I've had some people quit like at COVID, but now they're back. Maybe they get their job. But yeah, it's cool, and it's like really supportive to know like people are actually giving you $1 a month because they like what you do, or $5 or $10 a month. Like, it's really, really special.
Yeah.
And also weird, and also strange, you know, because it's like, am I giving enough? Am I not giving enough? Am I like, what is the value of art? But especially now, like, we just don't know the future of what is, you know, performing going to look like. And so these platforms, these virtual platforms, are really crucial. It's super cool.
Definitely. And Mary, I was reading on your website that you've done a few live streams and things like that. How has that gone over versus, I mean, playing on the stage? I mean, obviously you don't have an audience to kind of gauge off of, and you don't have that immediate interaction, but how has that been for you? Has that been pretty well received? I mean,
yeah, it's super weird. Exactly what you said, just like not having the energy of the room, of people there with you. It's also like really a pain to set up. Like, like I've just had so many like snafus, and then I'm like, oh, I'll give myself an hour to set up, and then I'm like, shit, like it's not working, and but then, you know, I have to go through with it however you plan it. But with Facebook, like, you can't see anyone, of course. Facebook, YouTube, like, you can see the comments maybe. But, like, if the Zoom ones are cool because you can have, like, a gallery view at the start and, like, just have some interaction, talking at the start and the end. The sadness for me is, like, at the end of the live stream, like, you're just alone, you know? You're just, and then it's like, oh, there's like that adrenaline crash, which also happens at shows. I'm not gonna lie, like driving home. I've gotten better, but it's like a little emotional roller coaster, putting so much emotion out with, like, my songs are not exactly easy listening. Like, they're very personal, and like a lot of heavy duty stuff going on. So then you shut off the computer and you're just alone, and you're like, oh, here I am. Here I am again. Just me. So yeah, it's interesting, but it's cool. I mean, people from all over the world can join, from different places in the country. You're just in your house. You can set up your sound system, so it's nice. And so yeah, it's been good. It's been, I've not done that many, but I've done like 3 or 4, I think.
Okay. All right. Well, excellent. Many more to come, right?
Yeah, the Sacred Heart one on August 22nd at 7. And then my Minneapolis release will also be streamed from the Hook and Ladder, and that's October 23rd. So those are the only 2 coming up.
Yeah, excellent. Wonderful, Mary, wonderful. All right, so your album's coming out this August. Kickstarter's been doing that for you. What was it like recording with like a bigger producer, a studio band that maybe you didn't really know that well, versus even recording up here in Duluth? I know when you've done more kind of Duluth-based records, you've pulled in a lot of people that you've worked with before or that you know personally. What's that different for you?
Oh, you know, it was at first very nerve-wracking, because I didn't really know, you know, we just like got kind of thrown together to do this recording, but we hadn't really played that many shows together or anything. But then it turned out that, like, so in tandem, my manager at the time booked us a residency. So there's like artist residencies where you go off somewhere, and then there's residencies like in a venue where you play like once a week or play like once a month. And so he booked us a residency at Astor Cafe and at 318. So we were doing two. Yeah, we were doing like 2 a week, I think. Yeah. For like while we were in this recording project. So we started to record, but also work out the songs on the live stage. And so things started to mesh, and then turns out like we all really like each other, and now it's like my band, which I'm stoked.
Okay,
and I love
excellent.
them. And I became extremely close with my producer. I miss him so much. It was like so therapeutic to talk through these songs with him and hear what he could add, and like it was just this sort of shaping. Yeah, like I've self-produced, and then once I worked with Hans Johnson, who used to be Duluth superstar like in the early 2000s. He lives in Boston now, but he produced one of mine, East to the Sea, in 2003.
Okay.
But yeah, so this was like, you know, a producer who, that's, you know, Hans does other work, but this was Steve's job. And yeah, it was just, once I got to know my band more, yeah, we really like each other, and I miss playing with them, so I can't wait for Sacred.
Perfect, Mary, perfect. Yeah. And now, you've done a lot of kind of self-produce, the whole DIY moment, and you did have a manager for a little bit. How is that different? I mean, does having a manager kind of ease your mind about, you know, booking gigs and things like that? Or is it kind of a let loose and you don't quite know what's going to happen next?
Oh, you know, it's like, it was both. It made me so happy to have someone taking care of booking and contracts and like just trying to like come from a higher mind of like looking at like my future. Yeah, so it was really felt great to have someone wanting success for me. And you know, I just have felt like so on my own, floating out there. I did have another manager like in the mid 2000, like 2007, when I was living down here. But then I went on the yoga path for a while, so and he moved to New York. But yeah, it was great to have someone thinking of like the higher mind. Unfortunately, you know, I have been so DIY. Not unfortunately, the mixed bag of like being so independent and so headstrong that like I really didn't like not being able to book some of my own gigs. Like people would reach out directly to me, but I would have to like forward it to the manager, and then, you know, he would take care of it. But then I was like, well, I could have just booked that myself, you know, because they reached out to me. So it was this sort of push and pull. Yeah, and in the end, I just am so used to being independent and you know, going off on these big adventures. And so who knows? I mean, we'll see how this album goes, and I'm still in touch with him, so I wouldn't be. Yeah, I'm open to maybe working with him again or seeing what can come. Part of the thing was that he had hoped to get it on a record label, and that just wasn't gelling. And then I was like, well, I'm just gonna completely go alone again and see what happens. So
right. And you got to do what works for you. I mean, one path isn't going to be the same as somebody else's path. So good for you, Mary. Good for you for kind of knowing what your limits are and sticking to your guns.
Thanks, honey. You're awesome.
Of course. Let's jump into your yoga a little bit. I know when we met, I mean, way back when, it's been what, 10 years now, if not more? You were actually working at a yoga studio up here in Duluth. And since then, you've actually opened your own yoga studio down in Minneapolis. However, that has since kind of closed up a little bit, and then you've been doing yoga on the side as well, still being a teacher, still doing videos, things like that. How did yoga come about for you? Was it something that you were always interested in?
Ooh, that's so fun. So I learned about yoga through 17 magazine when I was like 14 years old.
Oh, that's magazine. A blast from the past.
So isn't that funny? So I saw this spread and I was like, this is so cool. And I was already practicing Taekwondo, which has like a meditative component to that. And then in my late teens, I went to my first yoga class, and in college at UMD when I moved. I'm not from Duluth. People think that I'm from Duluth, but I moved to Duluth when I was 17 to start college. I'm actually from Princeton, Minnesota.
Okay.
A little small town. But so I moved to go to UMD as a senior in high school. I did secondary. And a friend I met up there gave me a yoga book. And then I started just going to classes and getting really deep into it. I was a psychology major, and part of the curriculum for the personal development and transpersonal psychology classes was to take yoga and meditation. So that was like part of our curriculum. And I got really into it then. And when I moved down here the first time in 2005, I was going to this gym, and I hung out with a yoga teacher in the sauna with a bunch of other students. And she was like, Mary, you'd be an amazing teacher. And I was like, I never really considered it. And I was like, thanks. And then I just was like, I'm going to do that. And so I had been planning to move out to the West Coast. And I started researching. I was dating this guy out there, and I moved to Seattle in 2007 and I met my master teacher, Tracy, at Whole Life Yoga, and I did my 200-hour with her, and then I was a teacher assistant for the following training. And her trainings were like 10 months long. So I studied intensely with her for 2 years, and then was her student. So then I moved back to Duluth and started teaching in Duluth, and then got my 500-hour down here at Minneapolis Yoga Retreat, Minneapolis Yoga Retreat. It used to be Minneapolis Yoga Center. And then I just went to India in January again and got another 200-hour at a school in Rishikesh, which is where the Beatles lived briefly. And so I studied there a training in the yoga of sound.
Nice. And I have seen pictures on your Instagram of you in this nice, beautiful yoga pose with your guitar. And that I think is really cool. So yoga of sound.
Yes.
Very cool.
So there's a group of yogis that are called Nada yogis, N-A-D-A.
Okay.
And these yogis believe that the universe was created by sound, and that everything does have its own sound vibration. Everything. This style of yoga is to use the transformative power of sound, the flow of sound. So working with the flow of sound as a way for transformation and personal growth and development. And so we used a lot of mantras and chanting of sacred phrases and sounds. And I learned how to play. Well, I started lessons playing the sitar. So I bought a sitar, and I've been taking lessons now here back in Minnesota with a teacher. So I've incorporated a new instrument into my reality.
Wonderful. Mary, that's great. Let's talk about your time in India quick, if you don't mind. I guess people don't really say that they went and lived in India for a while. They're always like, oh yeah, I went to Europe or I went to Japan. How was it living in India? I mean, was it just nice and relaxing? Was it a culture shock? I mean, how was it for you?
India is not relaxing. I think maybe some people would beg to differ, but I mean, the population is so huge there, and there's like so much color and so many smells, and it's so stimulating, and like the traffic is crazy, and like it's just like it's like a bombardment for the senses. So if you are prone to overstimulation, like, be prepared. And it's incredible. It's so incredible. And the city that I lived in is Rishikesh, which is right at the base of the Himalayas.
Oh, okay.
And the Ganga River, the Ganges or the Ganga, flows down from the Himalayas through the city. And when I was there, the river was bright blue. It was like turquoise. It was stunning.
Wow.
And so it's like this little mountainous valley, and cows walk through the street. The cows are sacred there. So there are cows wandering the street, cow poop everywhere.
Oh, no.
And, vendors outside everywhere. And this city is really used to yoga people, so didn't get bombarded too much. But in other cities, people are always wanting to sell you stuff and talk to you and like give you a taxi ride, give you a tuk-tuk ride or a rickshaw ride, and but Rishikesh is way more chill. So that Rishikesh actually is relaxing, I would say. But culture shock, yes, and I was pretty contained in the school, so I was just really focused on my studies. The classes went from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. with some meals in there, so it was full days, very, very taxing, but wonderful learning. Yeah.
Excellent, Mary. Would you ever go back?
Yes. I hope to. One of my teachers here that I've been collaborating with is going to lead a retreat over there.
Oh,
and
wow.
So she said I could be her assistant for that, which I actually started leading retreats this last year. I led one in Bali, Indonesia.
Oh, wow.
And yes, and but I'm not there yet to want to lead my own in India. I think being an assistant for one would be great. But I plan to study with my sitar teacher again when I go back. So, yeah.
Excellent. Are we going to hear any sitar on this new album?
Unfortunately, no. I picked it up after I recorded it.
Okay.
But you will on the next project. The next project is going to be more sort of maybe a little more instrumental, sort of psychedelic, relaxing style.
Okay.
We'll see how it unfolds, but everybody sits around that.
All right, perfect. Are you working on another project already, or are you taking a little break?
I applied for a grant through the Cedar Cultural Center, where they provide some money to do a brand new project. So if I get that, then I will be working on a brand new project. But in the meantime, I'm just really trying to learn the sitar, and I've been working on a lot of mantras and a lot of just more instrumental stuff. But I often feel like I can't move forward until the last chapter closes. So once this album is out, I'll feel more free.
All right, sounds good. It's that anticipation that's getting you then.
Exactly.
Excellent. And now, Mary, you are a multi-instrumentalist. You play piano, you play guitar, you sing. You've now picked up the sitar. Am I missing anything?
I play a little ukulele.
Okay.
And I have taken lessons in, I played alto saxophone when I was in junior high. I still have it. I still can play. And I also took lessons on the harp.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Joanna Newsom. But I didn't stick with the harp. I kind of wish I would have. But, they're pretty pricey for a nice one.
Yeah.
But maybe someday.
Yeah, and the harp really isn't something you can tote around too well.
No, you can get smaller folk harps, which I've seen some people do, but yeah, you need a trailer for sure.
Yeah. Perfect. And Mary, I love your style of music. Your piano playing is so fun and light and upbeat, and then your guitar is a little bit more kind of poppy, a little bit more kind of raw. What can we expect on this new album? A little bit of both, or?
Ooh, yes. So I think of it as a synthesis of all my work, previous work. So there are more piano songs so the last two albums I put out were totally guitar. So this has more piano, and a couple of rock and roller ones. But there's it's like not genre specific.
Okay.
Like I just released a video or premiered a video yesterday. This blog in Americana blog out of the UK premiered it, and so the first song on the album is like kind of Americana, but then there's like a super rock and roll element, and then there's like a really melancholy piano element. So it's kind of like a full spectrum. There's some sort of like gritty. There's a lot of swearing. There's an electronic, like a really sort of rockin' with electronic drums track.
All right.
Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. Can we talk about your side project? Is it Electronic Witch or Electric Witch?
Yeah, Electric Witch.
Electric Witch, yes. I remember the first time I saw you perform as the Electric Witch, you had these fake fingernails that were probably like 3 inches long. Your face is done, you're completely silver. You've got this massive, like, Medusa wig on, and my first thoughts were, that's not Mary. Because it was so different from what I was used to seeing you as. I was used to seeing you as this kind of more folk kind of style singer, you know, the summer dresses and things like that. How did that come about? Was that for a rock and roll kamikaze?
Because he's so cool. But no, this so my friend Zach Bentz, he is a genius, electronic music genius. He had this band already, and it was with his partner Stephanie, and then this guy Eric Anderson, and Marcus Matthews. And Marcus actually used to be my old drummer, but he moved to Los Angeles, and he was the singer. So Zach and Zach would make the music, and Marcus would write the lyrics and the melody. And when Marcus moved, they just sort of were like, all right, what do we do now? And I had been going to hear those guys, and Stephanie, those people, and just loved their sound. And I was like, well, if Marcus moves and you need a new vocalist, like, I'm your girl. And then they picked me. So I learned the songs that were already written. You know, it's very dark electronic, like they call it synth noir. And so it's like heavy duty, like really sort of, in some ways, like murderous and like spooky lyrics, like really dark stuff. But you wouldn't even know what he's saying or the words are saying, because you sing through a vocoder, which turns the vocals into like robotic sound. So yeah, I had a lot of fun with. I hired stylists when I would play, and they would craft like my entire look and like do the nails and do the makeup, and like it was just a hoot because we didn't play that often, so it would like I would like go off for it, you know, and eventually like I collaborated on a few songs. I wrote lyrics and melody for one song, and then I wrote the words for another. But yeah, so I just kind of jumped in where Marcus left off. And it's been a while since we played, since I've moved down to the cities, and I just really hope that when shows happen again that we can get that band going again, because
perfect.
It was like such an awesome outlet. Dancing around, cordless microphone, like so fun.
Excellent. Or you can do a live stream.
Yes, exactly.
Wonderful,
Totally.
Mary, wonderful. Oh, well, Mary, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to talk with me. It's a beautiful day outside. I hope you enjoy it. Your Kickstarter's already underway. Your new album, The World Is Your Lover, comes out later this summer. You're already looking ahead into next year, possibly. And then you've got a couple shows lined up here in Duluth and down in the cities. Thank you so much.
So great to speak with you, Crystal. Best wishes on your podcast and everything you're doing.
Yes, thank you. And I will talk to you later.
Awesome.
All right. Bye.
Bye.